Hi everyone, this is a late edition. This is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi, and we're here for an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. So my Women's Business Association had a meeting this morning at 7:30. And since we were at the meeting, I couldn't do my Facebook Live. So I'm doing it now at 10:30, pretty much an hour late for the weekend time, but still doing it. So we've had some snow here this morning, and now it's raining and it's cold, and the windshield was icing up at 7:30. It's not good weather here yet, but I am wearing my sweater with flowers. Tristan's wearing a big flower on his collar. We're trying to think spring or summer, whichever comes first. We don't care. Just get us out of the snow. Hi, Joyce. And my friend Heather reports that up in New Hampshire, where she lives, they finally have a piece of green on the lawn, which is very exciting when all you've seen is snow, snow, snow. We have green here, and I just have my fingers crossed that the grass won't actually start growing until I am able to get Brian to do the mowing, which might be a couple more weeks because we don't know where he's living. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about something that we might end up having many episodes about scattered out, and that is what we feed our dogs. It is so important to pay close attention to what you feed them. I have recently met a small dog with 3 or 4 kinds of cancer who is blind and only 12 or 13, a diet of Little Caesars his entire life. What my sister says is, if it's advertised on TV, they're making a lot of money in that company, and they're spending so much money on advertising to have it on TV that there's a good chance they're cutting corners in the manufacture and production of that food. So any food that is advertised on TV is generally not a good food for your dog. And in addition to which, kibble of any kind is not really good for your dog. And we'll have some more episodes about that. Of course, if you have a large dog, it's really hard to afford to feed them something else. And there are some options for that. And you can find out lots about that on my sister's website, drjudymorgan.com. But what I want to talk about today is something that we can all do no matter what you're feeding your dog. And that is to choose to add something good to every meal. Something that your dog is not getting, that your dog may or may not like, but that will be good for him. Just add that to every meal, or even 1 meal a day if your dog gets 2 meals a day. Sometimes we're overwhelmed and it's too hard to know how to change our dog's diet. So this idea of starting by adding one good thing can make a big improvement in your dog. And I was inspired by the Truth About Pet Cancer series to really try to educate people about what we're feeding our dogs. I mean, I just can't get over the things that I have noticed with food. So what Tristan has been getting, much to his delight, because he's just like a 3-year-old kid who doesn't want to eat his vegetables, I had some leftover Brussels sprouts. And I had made some soup, and the Brussels sprouts got really overwhelming, and I just am like not eating Brussels sprouts myself for a while. But I had 4 or 5 of them left over, and I decided let's give them to Tristan. Brussels sprouts are loaded with antioxidants. They have a lot of anti-cancer properties. They're a green leafy vegetable. They're pretty easy to get kind of fresh and nice in New England, even in the winter, because they are kind of a cold weather crop. So I just took, he's a 19-pound dog, I took 1 Brussels sprout, minced it up, and put it in his dinner. He eats on his kitchen, dehydrated raw, and he also has turkey mixed in and some other things from around the house. He gets some coconut oil and other supplements. So I threw 1 Brussels sprout in there, and oh my gosh, he ate it up, not a leaf left. So later that day when he had dinner, I looked through the fridge and I had yellow squash, one of my favorite foods. Took a couple of bites of yellow squash, chopped them up, threw them in his dinner, ate that right down. And I felt good knowing that my dog was having better food. And one of the things they tell you for humans in Chinese medicine, and a lot of naturopaths have said, eat the colors of the rainbow. So I've got the yellow squash and the Brussels sprouts. So the next day I put a little tiny bit of red bell pepper in his food. That disappeared. I mean, they're kind of tasty. But they do have a unique taste that might not be appealing to dogs. Then we went back to the Brussels sprout. This time I poured the hot water that I used to fluff his dehydrated raw on the Brussels sprout. So now we had a slightly cooked Brussels sprout. Well, Tristan does not approve of cooked Brussels sprouts, do you? He very neatly picked out as much as he could and spitzed it all around his bowl. However, I gathered up those bits, rinsed them off, and put them in his breakfast, and he devoured them. So he's had a couple of different kind of vegetables. I took 1 or 2 green beans, minced those up, put them in another meal. He ate those. Back to the Brussels sprouts. He got a little picky again. So now I'm just giving him a little bit less, like half a Brussels sprout. Again, he's a 19-pound dog. It's not like he's super huge. If I had a Labrador, I might put 2 or 3 Brussels sprouts in a meal. So those are some of the things I've done to add one good thing to my dog's meal. If you are not feeding your dog coconut oil, run, don't walk to the store and buy yourself a big jar of organic coconut oil, or you can get some from my sister's website that she particularly likes. And just put like a good teaspoon or so. Even Tristan gets a half a teaspoon or a full teaspoon in one meal a day. It's supposed to help with repelling fleas and ticks. It boosts the immune system. It's great for the digestive system. Great for the coat, the eyes. Yes, Biscuit, that's the cord. And it does give your dog some medium chain triglycerides, which are very good for gut health and digestion, and not easy to get in other forms. If your dog is eating dry food, in particular, putting coconut oil in there will be a great addition. So that is a good idea if you don't want to be chopping up Brussels sprouts for your dogs and watching them spit them out one by one on the floor and then having to gather them back up. You can just try adding coconut oil. There are some other things that you can try to add. A couple of vets I know really recommend sardines. Kind of stinky. If you're not a fish eater, that might be hard. If you have a big dog, you can put several in a meal. But with a dog the size of Tristan, I need to give him like 2 sardines a meal. He likes them. I don't like them. But I do try to give him some sardines on occasion because they are so good for them. You eat the whole fish when you're eating a sardine. You've got the calcium in the bones, the oils, and a lot of other really important good qualities in sardines. I wouldn't give them too often because the oceans are not that clean anymore, and depending on where the sardines were caught, they might not be free of heavy metals and some other things that you don't want to build up in your dog. But a lot of people recommend giving a couple of sardines once a week or something to your dog. So think about vegetables. Had a little phone call come through, adding one good thing to your dog's meal, at least one meal a day. And that might help your dog in ways that you can't even estimate. You can add fish oil, some supplements. My sister sells a wellness tablet. That would be a great start too. So no matter what you're feeding your dog, look at some things that you can add to your dog's meals that'll be good for them. So thanks for joining us today for this episode of Conversations with a Corgi. I need to talk to my client who's phoning. Right, Tristan? Have a good day, Danny. I hope it finally stops snowing up there in South Dakota. Flowers are coming up through the snow. Thank God. I have some little miniature irises that are blooming through the snow. They close up though when it is snowing. And they're purple and they're adorable. But so far all the bulbs are being quite shy. A couple of crocuses came up. And of course, all the flowers are grateful for the rain and snow because they need that to grow and have a good spring. So thanks for joining us today. Add something good to your dog's meals. We'll see you tomorrow at 8:30 for another episode of Conversations with a Corgi. Have a great day, everybody.